Okay. Well, welcome to um, week number 8. Week number 8 of our class, Contemporary Issues in Criminal Justice. We're winding down. Week 8 signals the next to the last lecture. We'll have one more lecture during week 10. I do want to say this at the outset that I'll hit it. There we go. Let's see. I have to share it. If I don't share it, you won't see it. Let's see. There we go. Now I got it. Okay. Now you can see my screen. I do want to remind everybody because there's been a specific issue with citations with APA in the written assignments in this class. I do want to remind everybody that at the very beginning, I pointed out that, I talk about two things in here. If you look in my instructor information box, and I talk about the 25th hour of the day, I start out with APA and critical thinking are very important in the grading of all assignments. All assignments. It says that. And I mentioned that day one. Then I remind students that you are required to conduct research in all papers. There is no textbook in this course, but it's still research oriented because you're going to be prepared as you exit, many of you graduating and going on some to the bachelor's, you will develop the mode of research. So it is very, very, very important. And then under that, again, it says all written assignments. It says all written assignments. All should be in APA format. That means citations in the body of the paper and references at the end. And many of you in this class know me from previous classes. That's the same warning that I've given time and time again. And so that's why I said to several students when I sent that email out that this is not something that is to be looked on lightly. It is not something that I don't take very seriously. And I had a few students to say, well, the assignment doesn't say in the module. I said, yeah, but the rubric does. Every rubric that you have. And while I'm on that point, you can see, starting week 1, APA grammar. Week 2, week 3, week 4, week 5, week 6, week 7, week 8 coming up, week 9, 10. The ACAT is the only exception to it, so that's a test. And then week 11. So it's pretty clear that it's there. It's just that a few students have said to me that I didn't think that the type of assignment that we had, if you look at the criteria and the requirements in there and the scoring rubric, you will see how it is. It is there. It is there. And even if it's not in the module itself, I say it's in the rubric and then it's in my expectations. And the word all is there. So I just want to finally bring this to rest because I've got a massive number of responses back from students. And I know that you guys are good students. But sometimes you have to remember this, and this is how I am. This is what separates me probably from a lot of professors that you might have, is that I am really serious in terms of helping you with your ability to communicate written. And APA and using Grammarly, but APA specifically is very important in terms of citations and references. I posted on Facebook the other day a piece that pointed out that it is so important that we, in terms of integrity, that we stay away from plagiarism, taking credit for someone else's work. Well, here's my whole point. Even you putting your information, I am an expert in my field. I am. As a professor, as a lawyer, as a police officer, as a paralegal, as an investigator, I always cited my sources even before. And the reason is because it increases my statements that I provide. I didn't just give blank statements, but I found a source that might support my statement and support my position. So this is the mode that I'm getting you guys into. And I'm really dogmatic about it because, number one, the school also requires APA. And the final thing I'm going to say is that the rubrics that you see, I did not create the rubrics. The rubrics were given to me by the school, and I understand why they're given. So this is not a soapbox statement. This is just a reminder so that everybody understands that I am very, very, very much in favor of seeing you guys be the cream of the crop. And trust me, all have been in your shoes, including present company. So anyway, that's it. So let's look at where we are with week 8. Week 8, gaining real-world experience. Gaining real-world experience. I think that's what you've really been doing pretty much with this whole course, but we're going to home in on that and make a few comments, share with you a few things about gaining real-world experiences. I think I already kind of started into that by what I just talked about in terms of utilizing your rubrics in the APA in your writing. Very, 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 very important. And then coming down, discussion assignment, field work issues and experiences. Again, following the same trend. Those are due yesterday, your initial post, and that was on actually day before yesterday, the 20th. And so today is November 21st. So they were due on the 20th by 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time. Of course, excuse me a minute. Sorry about that. And then your reply post are due on this Saturday, the day after Black Friday, which, you know, I'm not a big fan. I don't go out there and get in that crowd. If I do my shopping, I do it online. Thank you so much. Or either I go after the Black Friday crowd has cleared out. So, but anyway, I digress. That your reply post is due this Saturday, 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time. And then finally, your Sunday is written assignment day, field report, progress report. And so I want to see how you're doing with that. And then you already know the requirements that are set out for that. Again, going back again, just for a moment. Here it is. Explain the progress with your fieldwork requirement. Present issues or concerns regarding the fieldwork assignment. Grammar, there it is in bold letters, APA and organization. And you know, I don't have a page requirement on it unless it's in the module. I don't recall. We're going to go to that in a second. Anyway, that's your written assignment for the week. And you know, I want to say something about the field report. Well, I'll reserve that a minute until we get to the module itself, because now I want to go through the calendar real quick. And the course calendar. Okay. Here we are right here with your written reading, which is none, just telling you what the topic is. And then your initial post, your lecture right now, your reply post, and then, of course, your due date for your fieldwork progress report, the 25th. Now, be aware that next week you have your same schedule, except there is no lecture. The next lecture will not be until December 5th, and that is week 10. Now, in between that time, I will tell you this, that your ACAT information, they already sent me your login information, and it's not due until week 10, but they sent it to me already. And so sometime next week, I will be sending that information out to you so that you can take the ACAT, which I'll be talking about during our week 10 lecture. But remember, it's an assessment. It's not graded. It's just an evaluation to see how much you have retained since you've been in this program, and gives an idea. I never see it. I don't know what the grade is. All I know is I give you credit when you will send me a message or email in your Dropbox that you've seen it or taken it rather, and that you give your experiences with it, and I read those. That'll be during week 10, but I'm just kind of sharing that with you now. So let's go to the module. All right. So it's a 1 to 2 page report. Don't be afraid to go more. It's up to you. And notice again, here's what students say. They say, it says, doesn't even mention APA, but I know. Back to the issue. I guess that's the lawyer in me that keeps reminding students. I was telling my wife the other day that if I was a judge, and I didn't, I had an opportunity to do that before I retired in 2000. I was offered the opportunity to sit on the bench. But anyway, I didn't want to do it. I was done practicing. I wanted to work in ministry and then ultimately teaching where I am now. Anyway, my point is that my wife says of the judges on TV, because there are many on TV, who would I end up being the closest to? And I told her real quickly, my style is Judge Mathis, because he hits things like the way I would hit them from the bench. Very on point, very realistic and down to earth. That's me, you know, that's what you get to as your professor. So anyway, explain where you are in this process of the field work. We already talked about the field work requirement in week 1. I remind students that when you do this field work, that it is field work in an area that you really want to work in. That makes it easier for you. And if you are working in the area, you're already every day going to do it, and you can, you know, do that. but you know, make sure you provide the name of the organization, the area, and things like that. I've had students to do their progress reports where they would just simply mention an area like law enforcement or probation or parole, but no specifics. The idea of this is to give you a hands-on approach to what you're doing. I like some of the comments that some of you guys have put in your discussion posts concerning what you would do if you were a student and what you encourage students. And several of you said that I would start on my progress report right away, reaching out to my source, starting in week 1, and that's a good practice. So anyway, that's it for that, and then your discussion post. Then of course your live lecture. Then you're going to give the keyword that I'm going to give you at the end of this lecture, and that will be due by, and it says it right here when I click on it. All right, let's see, there it goes. Okay, it doesn't. But anyway, the bottom line is this, is that it's due on Sunday. Oh, that's right, because I didn't schedule that way for this class. So anyway, it is due by Sunday, 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time. So while I'm doing that, I'm going to actually just kind of do that. So you'll see what I'm talking about. You will see it from that point. Let's see. There's nothing in there. Okay, I'll set the due date. And the due date is the 25th at the end of the day. This is how I do this. So now you're seeing how I do this. And then I move my little mug shot out of the way and submit it. And so now, if you click on it, you will see this, that it's due on the 25th. So anyway, that's the way I'll do for the next one too. All right. So now let's go back to the module again. And let's look at, since you got the assignments, okay, let's go back because this keeps taking me back to that. So let's go back to 8. So now let's go to the lesson content where we will wrap up. Told you this is a short one here. So what we want to do this week is to focus on these 3 objectives. Why is gaining professional experience important? Explain your progress towards field work experience, and explain why, and outline the issues and transferable skills that were encountered within the field. Okay, so let's start with the first one. Obviously, professional experience is important. One of the things that really gave me a real head start in becoming a lawyer was that I had an opportunity right out of high school to get a job in a big law firm, knowing that I wanted to be a lawyer. And so my job in the mailroom, people says, how you gain professional experience by working in the mailroom? Duh, light bulb should come on. I'm working in the law firm exposed to real live lawyers practicing law. Now, though they were primarily corporate attorneys, I really wanted criminal, they also did criminal law as well. So I was able to see to them, have access to them, have conversations with them, and learn how they operated. And so that particular job got me in the door. But in the meantime, I began to do what you guys are doing. I pursued my education in college and went to school at night. Of course, there was no online, there was no internet or none of that. We're talking about 69, 1969, not 1869, 1969. And so, working in that law firm, I, of course, made it known to the lawyers from day one that I was interested in learning. And they appreciated that. They saw my hunger and desire for wanting to learn. So, anyway, every day I went to work was like I'm still learning more towards my objective of becoming a lawyer. And so I was gaining professional experience. And so as I progressed in that job, I demonstrated to them that my hunger and desire was strong. So then I was asked to become and was promoted to becoming the file clerk. Then I began to actually have to file papers away so I could read papers that were legal documents. I could see letters. I could see how issues that they were dealing with were taking place. Again, you can see the continuum. Then I became the law librarian, where I was the custodian of the books. Well, there we go. I'm now all of a sudden starting my introduction to research. And so I began to read the materials as I filed them away, look at them. I would listen to the lawyers discuss in the library the issues that they were attempting to deal with for their clients. And then I would, in the next step, go further. Remember this, I always went further than the requirements. My job did not require me to learn how to do legal research or to write memos and briefs. But I did that on my own because it would benefit me. And so in the meantime, I'm still continuing my education at night, climbing up, doing well and staying on the dean's list, operating under adverse situations without a car, on the bus, carrying books, no digital stuff at all. But here's my point. And then ultimately, I graduated, and then ended up going to law school, where, the rest is history. I learned from there. But here's what I'm going to tell you is that, so by the time I went into law school, I was ahead of the pack because of my exposure to the professionals, and I was gaining experience then. And so what did that do? That made me more effective in terms of being able to operate once I actually got to the legal profession as a lawyer, working my way up. And so you have that same issue in many of your areas and fields, especially in law enforcement. People volunteer. In school here, you participate in ride-alongs. You participate in just various ways, going to court, sitting in the courtrooms. Even if you have someone that you know who's a attorney, talking to them. If you and not just if you want to be an attorney, but even if you want to do a criminal area, criminal justice, talk to a criminal lawyer, talk to a prosecutor. Both of these are criminal lawyers. Talk to the public defenders and learn from them. Talk to individuals in government who also work in those areas as well. And then, of course, the other thing is that, I said volunteering your time. But the key thing is that in probation, parole, many of you are going into social services or human services, I should say, end up ultimately as caseworkers. You're still going to be working in an area. And then, of course, please, please, please don't underestimate whatever your role is in one of these agencies. And so it is so important because it gives you an edge. When you graduate from school, if you have not gotten professional experience before you get to the profession, it's going to be you're going to be real green, and no one's really going to know who you are. And then with the market being tight as it is, you're going to have problems. So that's why we want to make sure that we hone in on demonstrating and indicating to you the importance of professional experience. So the next bullet point talks about field work experience, which kind of ties in with actually assisting you in gaining professional experience. Your hands-on approach in an area. Again, I did it in law. You can do it in law enforcement. You can do it in probation. You can do it in parole. You can do it in social services. You can do it in human services. You can do it in any area that you want to go into. And the point of the matter is that you can do that. Did you not know you can also obtain that information through a local church that has the need for people that can help in that area, that are students that are studying? The point of the matter is that there are all kinds of things. I was what they call a police explorer at one time when I was in high school. A police explorer was like the Boy Scouts, but what I did was I actually had a chance to go to the station. I'd sit down and talk with the police officers. I'd see the lockup. You know, I'd see them in action. I was not permitted to do some things because of the security issues. However, I was able to see things that I would never have learned. I saw the inside of a police station without having to be behind bars or be arrested or, you know, those kind of situations. So the field work experience gives you an opportunity to see how things really work, and get out of the classroom. Because remember, your goal is you're going to continue learning all the time, but you're going to get out of the classroom. Now, I teach, but I go to seminars, and I go to one seminar in particular with the chiefs of police of the Illinois Association of Chiefs of Police every year. I got a little desk thing here that's I can hold up and you can see it. And I go to this annual seminar, and when I go there, I participate in various sessions on law enforcement, rules of law that take place. There are people who come there from all walks of life. There's probation officers, there's parole officers. I run into the feds. I run into the state police. I've made contacts and associations. But again, that also lends to my field work experience. I've also assisted. I've written articles in one police magazine that I used to share with my students that I wrote about education. What I may do is I'll send you guys a copy of that because I still have it here, so that you'll be able to see what I'm talking about. But the bottom line is your field work experience is like gold. You see how things really are, okay? I always tell people this. I says, you can hear me lecture you and talk to you about doing something, but when you get in and put your hands to trying to do it as well, you begin to learn more. And you will gain information and knowledge from your education in the classroom, but when you get out into the field or in the area that you have a passion or a desire to work in, it gives you an interest, and it also helps you in performing educationally. The bottom line is you become a better criminal justice professional. That's the key. And so that's what the field work and the progress report. It's not busy work. It actually helps us as professors, or helps me to see that you are actually continuing. It's not really homework. It's not a written assignment. It's more like you documenting or diarying what you're doing and in real world experience, as the module says. So now I will close by talking about the issues and transferable skills that are encountered. As you already know, that one of the key transferable skills in criminal justice that we focused on, and in all areas, but I'm focusing on criminal justice, and dealing with your fieldwork experience, particularly you come across, is communication. Written communication, you demonstrate by putting your reports together, and oral communication by asking questions of individuals who have more experience than you in working in the field, and or formulating answers to those questions as well. And so it's allowing you to utilize your written and oral communication in the field. When you go on a ride along, for example, you observe, and then you'll ask questions, but you will also be able to relate and see some of those things that tie into some of your classes that you had. Like, for example, you'll probably be able to understand, criminal law tie-in and how it operates in terms of it. If you had my evidence course, you might understand it. If you had constitutional law, you'll understand. You'll be able to see hands-on how the Fourth Amendment, search and seizure, operates in real life and how it's utilized. You'll see the Fifth Amendment operating when you deal with the issue of seeing Miranda rights and the police officers talking to you about Miranda rights. And then also you can ask them questions about their perspectives in Miranda. Personally, I love Miranda, not just as a defense attorney, but also as law enforcement, because, again, the key thing is to be a professional, ethical, educated individual, and that's what you do when you use Miranda. It's not about whether you like the way the law is. Your job is to enforce the law fair and equally across the board. That's in that. That goes with corrections. That goes with parole, probation, and those kinds of things. All right. And then, so it's communication. Then we talk about critical thinking. Oh, my goodness. That comes in your creativity, your ability to be able to think outside the box, to be able to ask or either understand or learn why a certain thing was done a certain way. Why did you, if you're going to ride along, why did a police officer do a certain things? Well, even before that, your critical thinking would, so, okay. And so, happy Thanksgiving to you also. But the point of the matter is that you begin to understand that it is so important that you make sure that you get that critical thinking, and that it's involved in your fieldwork experience, and I've just demonstrated and told you about how that works. Working ethically, well, we already know about that. Also, providing the details that you're using digital systems, because everything's digital now. And then the other thing, and there are other transferable skills, information literacy. Oh, you're definitely doing that. How are you doing that? That gets back to the issue I talked about early, APA, dealing with the research and written portions that you must do and demonstrate that you have the capacity to operate. And so utilizing those transferable skills tying in with how well you perform in terms of a student, and you'll run across them with the professionals themselves. You'll see them doing ethical things, following professional responsibility. You begin to see that police officers or other individuals in criminal justice are required to be more educated. You cannot be a probation or parole officer without a bachelor's. Corrections says high school. However, the trend is moving. They will tell you in a minute, if you've listened to some of the interviews that we've demonstrated or presented to you in other classes, that parole officers or probation, not parole officers, but that correction officers have indicated that they would take people out of high school, but now you're more likely to get a job if you have some college, at least an associate, and now moving more toward bachelor's. So anyway, the key thing is that those are just some of the points that I touch on in terms of the transferable skills. And any questions? Okay. Well, that's about all I have for today. And so you're welcome. And so I'm obligated to give you a key word. Turkey. That's it. Okay. I'm going to say good night and enjoy your time with your family. Uh, um, cheer for your favorite football team. I'm going with the Bears. Our quarterback is banged up, but I still think that we'll be okay. So I'll see you guys in 2 weeks, not next week, in 2 weeks. In the meantime, I hope that what I've said has helped you tonight. So good night.